This little plant right here is known as seed maker or gold moss stonecrop. You can propagate these by sticking them in your garden and they'll actually grow. They're native to Europe, family Crassulaceae, which is a very succulent plant. It's got lots of these little globose succulent leaves that the stroma for these open up in the daytime and it closes up at night like most succulents. I'm gonna grab a few of these for my garden. Not a native plant at all to the Okanagan, but they do come from Europe and they're naturalized in Europe and Asia and Japan. Make a nice little addition to the garden if it doesn't take over. They have a bright yellow flower when they're in flower. And a few more for me. And I'll leave the rest there. This little plant right here is known as the triangle oraceae or saltbush. It's an Amaranthaceae family and it's very salty. Has sort of a oxalic kind of taste to it too. It's like a goosefoot or a lamb's quarter. You can substitute this kind of juicy little leaf out for what you would normally use spinach for. It tastes kind of spinachy. It is a little salty. A lot of your Amaranthaceae plants are salty kind of plants. They hold a lot of salt and they tolerate a lot of salt in the environment, so they're related to crow's feet and marsh greens. But yeah, it's a little edible plant. Don't eat too much, don't get too much oxalic, but there you go. This greenish whitish flower that's growing everywhere here is hoary cress or Lepidium draba. It's a member of the Brassicaceae family, so it's a kind of a mustard, but well, cress is correct. It's got these little green leaves here with the spiny bits on the side, and it starts off looking like a broccoli flower. It's native to Asia and is naturalized here in North America. It has a sort of a rhizomorphic spread underground there. It's very interesting. Very common, which makes it less interesting, but there it is, everywhere. Well, look what she's looking at here. There's a little bit of a breeding pile of a Thamnophis vagrans elegans here, the wandering terrestrial garter snake. So there's one male there, cheek to cheek with the big old female. Oh, there's another male over here, trying to come in for a bit of that, you know. Nice colors on them here. Oh, next to an Opuntia fragilis cactus there. Here in the base of a whole, oh, there's a whole bunch of them. There's another one over there too. A whole bunch of snakes together. Let's see how close we can get without interrupting the process. Hey there, snaky snakes. Gonna make you celebrities. We're here in OK Falls, in the sunshine, in the spring. All these little plants around here, hoary cress, Brassicaceae family, so mustards, Lepidium. Oh, I don't want to spook them. I'm gonna just back up here so I don't spook the snakes. Leave them be. I noticed them first because they're all pressing down the cress. The old press cress. Anyway, have some fun. Not far from those garter snakes that we're mating, we got some nice stone crops here. English stone crop is Sedum anglicum, another Crassulaceae family plant. It's got big succulent leaves on it. Another one that's easy to propagate. You can see it's just propagating itself all across this rock, and there's some nice pretty little club mosses coming out here too. You only see those in the springtime. They can dry up to nothing, come back, and these nice little stone crops are just stone cropping all out, all across the surface of this big rock. Looks real nice. Can handle being walked on a little bit. Handle the dry pretty good too, and they'll have a nice big yellow flower. Well, a small yellow flower, but they'll have a lot of it later on. That rubbery look. You can pinch a little of these off, put them in your garden, and they'll come up, take over if you're not careful. There's some stone crop that still have the flowers from last year that are dead, but that's what they'll look like when they stick them up and have all the yellows on top there. Lots more of those club mosses and lichens on the top of these wild growing rocks. By the riverside here is this Ericameria rabbit brush. also known as rubber rabbit brush, because it can be used for creating rubber, apparently. It's a nice soil stabilizer for the area. What was it? Ericameria nauseosa. Doesn't sound very appetizing. Growing on top of all these sedums here, next to the Saskatoon berry. It'll have a bunch of tubular yellow flowers in the early fall, late summer. Be bright yellow, sort of like a crown on top of it. Here's one that looks a little more natural. Natural over here. It's a little tighter. Some people mistake it for sagebrush, but it's different. It's a family Asteraceae, just like your sunflowers. Oh, there's a little tiny mustard over here. It's a cute one. Maybe find out what that one is. A little bushy plant here is Diaperia prolifera, also known as rabbit tobacco or cudweed. At least that's what I understand. It's got very, very hairy plant leaves on it here, and comes up from a big tuberous root. Root's actually barely even buried there. Shows how resilient it is, and it has lots of little members of its group here. Maybe that's why it's called prolifera, because it proliferates so effectively in this space where nothing else really can. That mustard I saw before was just really, really spindly looking Cicimbrium altissimum. So this is just tumble mustard. It looks a little different, but here's an example of one that's a little more typical, and they get quite big, but they're just so tiny here because there's just nothing to live on. Only other things that are growing here are stone crops and goose poop. Watch out for goose poop. And goose grass, as a matter of fact. Somebody painted this little rock here. I guess here's their little moment of fame. It said something on it, so, well, I guess there's a mystery. There's another rock somewhere with the other half of the message. Find it. Discover what it's all about. Boy, everything here is just such an attractive little planting. So crack in the rock's got all these sedum stone crops there, and lots of more mosses, all naturally growing. And you follow them down to the river here, or down to the lake. What's this? All kinds of poison ivy. Oh boy, it's all green and leafy now. So it'll have all those oils of urushiol on it. This is Toxidendrum rydbergii, or Rydberg's western poison ivy. It's all growing up in and amongst this dead tree here. Don't know what the dead tree is. It's too long dead. But there's all kinds of little sprouting trees around here. And I'm pretty sure that these are linden trees. There's a little linden tree coming up right here, probably from some of the linden trees in the nearby garden over here. Lots of birds out here today too. Lots of killdeer making lots of noise. A little bit of a willow over here. And here's the dark side of the rock for this time of day. And of course, everyone knows the little train bridge and the beam of sun. So here's that mama linden tree, genus Tilia, family Malvaceae, where all these little baby linden trees are coming from. It's not native. It's being grown here as a ornamental. Pretty soon it'll be all flowering. The flowers are about to open. They have this sort of like a bracket comes off of each flower, like a false leaf, and the flower stems come out of that. Lots of little bits of it coming out, growing, cloning itself off the bottom there. This is to protect the tree from beaver chewing. A lot of dead trees around here that didn't get protected from beaver chewing. This one here got kind of half protected and got kind of half eaten. It's a big weeping willow, another popular pond-side tree. And at the base of the bridge, there's a big old patch of tansy here. There's a tansy here, some tansy there. Tanzacite vulgaris. It'll have a big yellow flower when it flowers. This is last year's dead flower. Crunchy. Has a very fragrant, oily smell to it. Smells good. Try it. I guarantee you'll be like, hey, that's a smell. That's exactly what I think when I smell it. Got some roses here that are growing on their own. They're probably wild rose. Whatever they are, they're wild now. Oh, I hear birds. Is there a nest? Oh, can't see it. Some elms there. Elms will grow anywhere apparently. And they're just terrible. They grow everywhere here in the Okanagan, just taking over. It says they're a Siberian elm. And they're a sickly, diseased sort of plant that just takes up every hillside and grows all over the place. It's spreading its seed and being out of control. Better not to have them around. It's a big little old bush out, Plantago lanceolata, or narrowleaf plantain. It's little flowers from last year. They're already dead, but it has like a little horn like that. It's also known as buckthorn, and there'll be little flowers all around the base of it as it starts, and they grow towards the tip.
Is that a snake?
Not this time. Kids like, is that a snake? Nope, the snakes are all the way press and cress. And some more tansy, and then rose, and then this is Asclepias. It's a milkweed, probably common milkweed. Butterflies, like the monarch, like to use this. You'll see if you damage it, there's all this milk coming out. This lactating milk stuff comes out of it. That's where it gets its name from. It's toxic to most things, except for certain types of insects. It'll have these flowers come out at the top. They'll be big and pink, form these baseball size inflorescences for everyone to enjoy. Growing here in the shady spot under another elm tree. A patch here of Plantago lanceolata that has some currant flowers starting up. So they haven't started the ring of flowers around them yet, but they got the little buckthorn started up. Yeah. Got lots of these rabbit bushes and brushes, rabbit brush, and then here's the lovely, awesome antelope bitterbush, or Prusia tridentata. It's already starting to go into flower. Unlike sagebrush, which tends to flower in the other times of year, this stuff flowers right now. And it's got a real sort of a oily leaf to it. It's got a nice smell though. It smells like almost like a pine forest. Not like pine, but a little different. It's got that thujone kind of sagey smell to it, but slightly different. Lots of animals eat this. It's a habitat indicator to indicate the type of habitat it grows in. No surprises there. One of the big arcs of branches that grows over here. Doesn't really grow much farther north than this. This is the northernmost expanse of it. You'll find a little bit in Penticton. I think there might be a couple of populations in Vernon, but Penticton is kind of the boundary of it. I really like it. I think it would be great to have as a front yard plant, although it doesn't really lend itself to a lot of front yardisms. Oh, what a bush of them here though, huh? Seems to be liking the water. Doesn't tend to propagate very often either. And then these other plants here are all genus Rus. Not sure the species, but these are sumacs, and sumacs are native, as opposed to some of the lookalikes like the tree of heaven, which we get, which I don't see any around here, and that's good. There's another linden tree, another invasive one. Some little mustard flowers down there with that brassicaceae sort of looking flower on it. And anyway, Prusias are in the rose family, so Rosacea. Yeah, they're great to have. See them already pollinating here with a little pollen bits coming out. Get that in focus. There we go. Look at that branch. So like a dreadlock of green. The greasewood. I'll just flip this water rock here to find some Ficella acuta snail. It's a left-handed snail, so the spiral goes left. It's sinestral, as it is. And you can see the egg masses. These are the egg masses of the bladder snail, because they're bladder-like. There's lots of little snail eggs in there. There's one here right where the water meets the rock. Well, this is a granite rock. There's the egg cases. Very gelatinous. I'm just going to put the rock back the way I found it, which is prostrate. And I think Amanda's gone across the bridge there, so I'm going to have to go after her. Cineglossum officinale. This is the hound's tongue. Right now it's got these lovely little flowers. This is a borage. Later it'll have these sticky, nasty things will get all in your clothes. It's extremely invasive. There's a little hillside here. There's some Clematis ligusticifolia here, or the native white clematis that we have here in the Okanagan. It's not a very showy flower. Technically the seed pod's a little showier than the flower. The flowers will just be a cluster of little white, nothing specials. But the flowers kind of look like the truffula trees from the Lorax. So yeah, you've seen that. That's what they look like when they have the seed pods. And then there's these really globose looking opuntias here. It's Opuntia fragilis. Once it has these sunshine facing bits growing on slope and rocky bits and it's getting enough water, it sure looks fat. These ones are real spiny too. So they have long spines with slightly barbed lengths to them which stick in you. They're really nasty. And then they have really short spines at the base called glaucids, which get in your skin and make you itch. They're really hard to get out. They have an urticating effect. And then, oh, what's that little guy right there? There's a little pepperweed coming up. That's a mustard. I always love how when the opuntias are growing on the hillsides and they reach the edge of the hill, they form these mats that just sort of roll over on the edge of the hill. So they make nice looking shows here for you. And they should be flowering pretty soon. I see a few little flower heads starting to come up on those. And some of the old dead plants here at the base. Little bits of them will tumble off. They're called fragilis because they're fragile. They fall off and they roll down the hill and they start growing down here. That is the story of that. Nice mosses. We're heading back this way. I talked about the sumacs earlier. Here's Ailanthus altissimum, the tree of heaven. This is the fake one, the stinky one. They smell bad when you break them, and they smell worse when they're in flower, unless you're into that sort of thing. Just wait till that comes out, you'll see what I mean. They're from China and Asia and those areas, and they're probably one of the most invasive species we have. See, it's taking up all the hillside and all the places where things grew before, now being taken over by this plant. It's a shame we didn't get it under control when we could have, but now it's just totally out of control. What a nice bunch of hillside we got here. Lots of crumbly rocks. Here's a don't see them very often, Lithyrus latifolius, the perennial pea. So this will come back each year. It's a member of the family Fabaceae. Yahoo! And look at these. It's got like fins on every stem. So every stem is a leaf. Even the stems. And then there's little bracts on each one. That's a leaf. And the leaf is a leaf. And the curly little, typical curly pea grabbing item here. It's a nitrogen fixing plant. So it fixes the nitrogen. Little spider living under here. Let's see what that is. I can zoom in on the spider and get it in focus. That's no spider. That's a little dead flower stuck in the spider web. Oh, foiled again. Anyway, there'll be some pea flowers soon here. So from the perennial pea, I noticed a little something hiding up there. Is it another mystery rock? Let's find out. Oh, it's a sunflower, blue and yellow. This one must be in honor of the Ukraine. Hope 2022 money. Well, I think that probably has something to do with the Ukraine. Heading back down here. Well, this tree really got chewed up. How do you feel? Oh! Up in the tree is the eastern kingbird, Tyrannus tyrannus. Clearly a terrifying, mighty master of all birds. Although, if you disturb its nesting area, it will dive bomb you. Now there's a nice looking opuntia. These little bits of new growth here are going to be, some of them are flowers and some of them are going to be new pads of cactus. But the ones on the tips, usually these ones, end up being flowers. And they'll be yellow and a little bit pink too. If it stays moist enough out here. What's this? Oh, it's a fledgling of a red-winged blackbird. Hello, little guy. Look, he's barely got his feathers. He's just climbing the tree. Look at that raggedy little head on him. Hi. Wants to focus on things other than the bird. Looks like a Skeksis. Yeah. We saw the common milkweed. Here's its flower from last year. But nearby is another type of milkweed, which is the flower from last year for it. This is Asclepias fascicularius, or the narrowleaf milkweed. There's some little seed pods here to see, or seed heads. And they get wind distributed. And the plant itself, which looks a lot like the other milkweeds, but it's a little thinner. And it still has the milkiness coming out there. It's growing all over the place over here. At least it will be. There we go. So the narrowleaf milkweed is much narrower. It still has the milkiness to it. Lots of purple, pink kind of phlox growing here. Some more mustards, yellow mustard. And some thistles and lots of sagebrushes out here. Love this eroded slope. This is actually a good spot to find garnets here sticking out of the rock sometimes. I'll definitely show off some of those if I find them. But over here is a purple flower. This is Penstemon fruticollis. Grows way up into the hills. There's an old dead one here. Oh no, that's a rabbit brush. But yeah, the Penstemon fruticollis. Look at the flowers just coming out everywhere here. Real nice trumpet-shaped flower. Look at that. Has a nice smell to it, if I recall. Too high up for me to smell, but close enough to see. Just a sentinel looking out over the vast landscape. At the base of these cliffs, there's some little cliff ferns, Woodsia ferns. So yeah, look at that. They're like a little desert-loving fern, although I'm sure they like the wet a little better than the dry, but you find them in the cracks of rocks and growing all around here. It's kind of nice to have. We're looking at all these woodsia ferns here, and I just came around here. I know, oh geez, what's that? It's a deer, so we won't touch him. No one should touch him. Poor little thing. Looks so skinny. Looks like he just got dropped. He's got his little nose is just twitching. Oh, it stopped twitching. Now he's staying very still. He's a little bit nervous. Looks like he just got licked clean. He's still damp. That explains why that deer was walking around here before. Okay, well, let's get away from him. Stay away. You're gonna get a picture? Well, that makes sense. Okay, then we'll get away from the cute little deer. Go back to looking at flowers and rocks and things. Look at that landscape. Woo! It's a little cave. Something lives in here. It's been dragging dead things in there, leaving bones. Lots of hiding places in here. And bits of bones. So there's a little crack in the rock here, and there's lots of big hunks of quartz here. And if I look real close, there's a garnet. Not a really great garnet, but it's a garnet. Lots more crystals, quartzes, and little not very precious crystal and gemstones in here. That's a big hunk of quartz there. I wonder if that's got anything interesting going on in it. Wow, that's some interesting metals in there. Maybe there's some silver going on here. Kind of cool. Bluish. Lots of mineral things going on. Better leave them though, because this might be somebody's mineral claim. Who knows? Now these are just everywhere, so they need to be seen. This is downy phlox, also known as prairie phlox. Oh, there's a little thrip on that one. You see a little fly-like creature. That's a thrip. Nasty to have in your garden. There's a whole bunch of them there. If you look in, it's right in the in the middle there too. There's a bunch of them. This is Phlox pilosa. Not a very good focus, but a nice little five petaled flower there. They got a little whorl that they open up from here, if I can focus on it. Yeah. Got little mosquitoes flying into my ears right now. And these guys vary from sort of a white to a pink to a darker pink. And they're just everywhere. So if you stand up and look about, the whole desert is just a starry sky of phlox flowers. These little blue flowers are Phacelia linearis, or threadleaf Phacelia. Another fuzzy little plant. Nice purple flowers. It kind of remind me of a geranium. Little bugs living in them too. Lots of nice little mosses on the dead branches here, and some more Cecimbrium mustards growing around. Just the usual fare. What was that yellow flower over there? Oh, that's a little flower from this this antelope bitterbush. Nice. There's the little flowers up top here too. Lots more places to explore. Still some flowers left on the arrowleaf balsam root, the indicator of spring in the Okanagan, Asteraceae family. This vetch is just everywhere. I don't know what kind. Could be astragalus, could be vicia. It'll have a flower later, and I could probably determine then what it is, but it could be a milk vetch. Another Fabaceae nitrogen fixing type plant. There's the sepals here coming up. The flowers are going to be appearing fairly soon. Well, here's some of that vetch in flower, and now we know what it is. It's hairy vetch. It's the Villia. It's Villia villosa. Look at those purple flowers. Another member of the pea family, leguminous, like a bean, like a lentil. And it's a nitrogen fixing plant. Has these very square, kind of loby stems on it. Most peas and beans, well, most peas anyway, have that. And it's a pea. It's got the classic pea tentacles going up the side of this rock here towards the summit. So many close-up pictures, but you just don't see how nice everything is. Just that everything is nice. Everywhere is easy to walk. There's no invasive species here at all. There's no houses around. Nobody's dragged any seeds up here from outside of the area. So must have been like this 100 years ago. Well, 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 look at this. Some roadside asparagus officinalis, family Asparagaceae. Looks like someone's actually been here and cut some. They might have been harvesting it, so I'm not the only one who knows about this, but here's some growing. Looks like asparagus you get at the store, maybe a little bit overgrown. This one's a lot overgrown. Oh, and someone's definitely been in here. Someone pulled this up and probably was cutting down some of the things when they first came up. Look, some of this is still food. That's a food piece of asparagus. There's another piece of wild asparagus there. Yum, yum. But I'm not going to get it. I can just as easily get my asparagus at the store. There's not a lot here, and it's a little bit past its prime. Anybody likes to grow yuccas? Yucca is also in the family Asparagaceae. You can eat the sprouts of that too. I got some nice clematis growing there. Some of our native clematis. Old clematis is climbing all over this, and then it dies, and then it grows back, and then it dies off. Makes these big piles of bush. What is that? That looks like a apricot tree there in the distance. That could be interesting later in the year. Come back and get some apricots. Some asparagus and some apricots. You'll have some interesting smelling urine. And some Dalmatian toadflaxes over there. Those tall things growing with the yellow flowers like snapdragons. Those are not good to have. Those are ugly. Those are nice pretty cliffs. The day is just about done, so we say goodbye to the beautiful scrubland. Hopefully not for the last time. Because there's many places in scrubland that have been transformed into Vinland. And I don't mean the Viking kind. All those lovely greasewoods, trees, scrubs and bushes and animals. Hopefully we can enjoy them. Hopefully we can all enjoy them. Anyway, good night and watch out for poop.